So the motion is as,
The joint committees.
It says the Ocean Front Walk Committee, Public Safety Committee, and Visitor Impact Committee recommend that the VNC board not support automated ballot.
Period.
Okay, simple.
Swiftly.
Can I ask a question?
does anybody want to add or amend to that, add or amend to that motion?
Why didn't we add that we review other options, that we review other options that are cost effective and work within the parameters of the boardwalk area?
Yes, if we can get through this automated bollard, we can move on to those other options. We've got to get to a vote on the automated bollards first.
But he's adding an amendment.
No, I part of
The amendment to the motion, say it again, please.
So, yeah, that we review, so while we're rejecting the automatic bollards, we review other options for this particular use that take into account, you know.
How about this language here that we have here? Recommend further study.
Yes,
Does
that's good.
that satisfy what you're talking about?
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay. Shelley?
I just wanted to ask if somebody knows how much money the city is saying that they're gonna spend.
It says 1.2 million.
But no, that was, no,
That
I'm
was for
talking.
this item in particular, the answer is no.
That's
The
all
answer is no.
Okay,
Okay,
so now we
so,
changed it, so the motion is the Ocean Front Walk Committee, Public Safety Committee, and Visitor Impact Committee recommend that the VNC board not support automated ballots, but recommend further study.
very good. Let's,
Someone
move to
second
vote,
it
please.
now? Is that?
Yeah, you have to vote on that amendment.
Someone second
Okay,
it?
so we're going to vote on this amendment right now. Let me start, all those in favor of the amendment, raise their hand and say aye.
Here, I don't know. 1, 2, no, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay, all those opposed?
1,
Anyone abstain? The motion is approved. Okay, so all those in favor of the motion as approved? As amended? As amended.
Wait. Is there supposed to be public comment on motion? All the motions change, there should be a public comment on the change of the motion as well. Sorry.
What's the public comment?
Public comment is, I don't think there should be further study. I don't think the bollard system is a good idea. I think another system is a better idea. And if we put more money and time into studying bollards, we're not going to get other stuff done. So I disagree with the motion, with the amendment to the motion, but I agree with the motion.
Any other public comment on the amendment? Okay, let's vote on the motion as amended. All those in favor of the motion as amended, raise their hand and say aye.
The motion as amended with the first.
It's amended with the language of recommended for this one.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
All those opposed to the motion as amended, raise their hand. All those who abstain,
1.
one abstain. Motion is passed. Okay, good. 1 down, 9 to go.
Can I say one thing before we move on to the next one? Just, I think just to make sure that this process goes really well, because there are so many items that we're really asking everybody to comment specifically on just the item we're addressing.
Thank you.
Because the open public comments part of the meeting is passed, so we need to keep it on target.
Thank you. Good. Here we go. Moving forward, part 2 is gate and bollard system. So a gate and bollard system is a manual operation similar to what can currently be found throughout the city of LA's park system. Each gate would open 20 feet in width and be required by LAFD. Additional treatments would be recommended on the sidewalks adjacent to each gate. These treatments would include fixed bollards, artwork, trees, planters on either sides of the gate to prevent unauthorized vehicles from jumping the curb. Maintenance issues associated with the installation of trees or planters would need to be considered. This type of system would be recommended to be installed on Dudley, Brooks, Breeze, Wavecrest, Westminster, Market, Windward, 17th and 18th. On each street, the gate and bollard system would be installed mid-block between Oceanfront Walk and Speedway. Moving forward, the estimate for installation at 8 locations is approximately $150,000. Procurement and installation would be via contracts awarded by RAP or BOE. It is important that this gate and bollard system would not be, it is important to note that this gate and bollard system would not be appropriate for Oceanfront Walk due to the obvious conflicts with opening and closing gates. That's reference to the automated bollards before. With that said, let us move to public comment on the gate and bollard system.
Obviously, bad idea. I mean, it looks, even to a layperson, it looks super dangerous to rescue people going through. How are they going to get through? If not, they have to like figure out a route around them and then waste time, you know, getting to people that need their help. It doesn't look like a workable system at all. And the maintenance requirements, you know, nothing's maintained down there already, so I don't know how we're going to keep all the planters maintained and how are we going to make sure the gates are going to be unlocked for the right people, or they have enough to find those around them.
Thank you. Any other public comments regarding the gate and bollard system?
I agree with her.
I agree wholeheartedly. Again, you're creating a situation where in a panic, people are going to be forced through these choke points. And that's how people die. So if you want to really get sued, just wait till the first time someone shoots a gun off, whether it's a cop or anyone else, people are going to start running. And there you go.
Good, thank you. Okay, so let's move it to board discussion. So board discussion regarding gate and bollard system. Why don't we start at the other end this time?
I think that they're going to be very difficult to maintain. They're blocking the street midway, obstructing traffic, the normal traffic flow in front of businesses. If you put that swinging gate in front of somebody's front door, it'll be very, very difficult, and the gate's going to swing open, block the front entrance to a number of establishments on Westminster, on Dudley. You've got restaurants right there. It's kind of unworkable to have these large gates, which is only going to attract graffiti and other things, and people are going to lock shopping carts to them, thereby creating problems. Yeah, bicycles, you name it.
Thank you. Daniel? Everybody has to comment.
You know, for me, the more the boardwalk is a pedestrian area, the better. You know, I actually think this does allow enough. First of all, they'll only be open in emergencies. They'll be closed otherwise, so they won't impinge on the businesses in my mind. I do think they allow enough traffic, people to get through if there were crisis. And you know, I think yes, people will catch the bicycles too, but that's not a terrible thing. And they probably will be graffiti, but what isn't? So in a way, I feel like this is not a bad thing. It moves towards the idea, this area is for people, just people to walk. And you know, anything towards that, and it's cost effective. It's not as expensive as the other one, and it doesn't have all the technological questions that people have. So I would be in favor.
Joseph?
I would tend to be in favor of this also. It seems that the price point is workable. We've got 8 of these things going. I don't see unless as sort of safety concerns, they seem to be the most effective and the most cost-efficient way of at least creating some barrier to what we're everybody's talking about. So I would think in favor of it.
Not particularly in favor of this either. There are a limited number of streets that are actually used by the public safety agencies to get on the boardwalk. Those need to be open. I think if we want to do something for the other streets, then they should just be maybe a fixed system of some sort, and not a bar or a piece of steel or a block of concrete or something that serves absolutely no other purpose than to obstruct and get in the way. We should not have anything with moving parts that we need to make sure can function and has some failure systems built into it as far as I'm concerned. So,
Of these 8, which can you identify which of the ones of the 8 that you safety needs access to?
Not to exclude any other street, because there are always situations where we have to come up with other other routes, but in general, access to the boardwalk is made via Rose, Brooks, 18th, Venice Boulevard for the parking lots, and then Washington Boulevard for the parking lots. That's it. Really, that's it.
Any other board comments regarding gate bollards?
I'm not in favor, mostly for similar reasons. Swinging, I find it somewhat offensive and intrusive. I'm not in favor.
Yeah, even if they were only $5 to install anything, that's really appropriate.
Do you want to add something?
I'm sorry, yeah, I just forgot one thing. I don't know where you finished.
Oh, I know, you just reminded me, I want to get one thing. There are already bollards on Dudley.
Right.
There is
Couldn't stop
Yeah.
it.
These are gated bollards, gated only, all we're discussing
Well,
right now
these
is
are
gated
gates
bollards.
and bollards.
Gated and
Well,
bollards.
Gated is where you get a 20-foot gate that opens up that would allow a vehicle to pass
Gates
through
and
and then
regular
close it. It's like a gate, it's a gate, it's a big cattle gate.
Nobody can go down Dudley anyway right now because there are bollards there. They didn't stop the guy, so.
So just the other thing I think that's very important, if we figure out the configuration of a particular device like this versus our other options, this is a horizontal barrier.
Yes.
And a horizontal barrier covers a very large space or an area, and you either go under or over, or you have to go way around to get around it. And I think that in itself is a huge public safety hazard. If you're going to put any type of obstruction, you put them close enough to keep vehicles out, but small enough and vertical with good flow so that people can get out.
Thank you. Any other committee comments on gated bollards specifically? Gail?
Yes.
Are we going in order?
No.
Go ahead, Melissa.
So just to reread what it says that we're talking about, it's gates and fixed ballard systems. These treatments could include fixed ballards, artwork, trees, and or planters on either sides of possible gates. So in my opinion, a fixed ballard should absolutely be put as a sign that we're never letting it happen, at least again on Dudley, where the guy did drive on to the boardwalk, because I can't believe that if they've spent one dime, they haven't done that just to honor what happened. There should be one fixed ballard there. And then in terms of the streets where they're doing gates, I don't necessarily think it needs to be gates, but I think in the motion that we put forth, that it should be something taking all these ideas into consideration, because on my street, we talked about closing the street to promote business and could also promote public safety to create a new seating area. And so I definitely hope that you'll consider that street closure, because it's something that I think a lot of people in my community would like to see. And that's all I have to say.
So because you mentioned that, I'll take the liberty to skip forward for just a second to number 3, which is hard street closures, which also includes, these are streets that are primarily used for pedestrian use. For example, your street, Westminster, is primarily used for pedestrian use west of Speedway. Therefore, it would only need slight modification through the use of bollards, planters, artwork, and/or bike racks to prevent an unauthorized vehicle access. So we are still in the third item, going to have plenty of time to talk about other types of blockades or closures, be it
That doesn't talk about Dudley though, so the Dudley bollard.
Okay, so then we can talk about, so you're saying Hart Street closures doesn't say Westminster, it says Dudley, Brooks, Breeze, Wavecrest, Westminster under gate and bollard system, but it doesn't include Westminster under Hart Street closures, so that's a good point. So we can get specific about what streets we're talking about as we move on to number 3. But as regards number 2 right now, the primary thing that makes number 2 what it is, by the way, I put numbers next. Number 1 is automated, number 2 is gate. So it makes gate and bollard system unique, as I read it, is that they're talking about that there's this 20-foot gate that opens and closes.
Therese is absolutely right. The guy that drove onto the boardwalk came down Dudley that had fixed bollards, ballards, whatever the hell you want to call them.
Not gates, but fixed.
And yes, but this is talking about gates and fixed. Gates and fixed, it says under this. So I am opposed to all of it because it didn't stop the guy and it's a waste of money.
Gail. All right.
Gail.
Gail, people come up to me often and say, why aren't you on the Venice Neighborhood Council? And I say, because this shit makes me crazy. I want simple. That's why I abstain. We are opposed, period. I hate this whereas, you know, this further study just makes me crazy. I'm opposed, period. And if you saw this picture, it doesn't match. The do not enter is red and the gates are pink and blue and...
Okay. Order, please.
I'm opposed to the gate and bollard system, but the language I do like, and I hope we have a conversation about later, is some sort of installation of trees, planters, and bike racks. I think bike racks would be the most excellent deterrent and needed out there anyway. So I'm opposed to this system and would like further study on looking into much cheaper and more effective deterrents that help people like a place to put their bikes.
Okay, I'm opposed to a gated bollard system because I couldn't imagine any situation in which you would want to open that gate, but you would have to move numerous amounts of people and bicycles and everything out of the way to very slowly swing this 20-foot gate in this huge arc to open it up so that some vehicle could go through. It certainly wouldn't be an emergency situation, so I can't imagine how that would ever be useful or helpful under any circumstance. I agree with the other people who said that they like some of the other language that's included in it, like artwork, trees, bike paths, bike walks, bike racks, etc., etc.
Can I say one more thing in board comment about this?
About number 2?
About number 2, before someone creates the motion.
Oh, we didn't have a motion. No.
Yeah, so, in terms of the gates, if they are going to move forward for them, because we are just making recommendations, they can do this whether we want to or not. There's things to take into considerations for businesses to make sure that it's not going to hurt their businesses when they put these gates or anything else in place, because they still need deliveries to be made. And so something that somebody brought up to me in talking about this was that the gates need to be indented to create a place for delivery trucks to park if they're going to do them. Again, this is if they're going to do them. Even if we recommend to say that we don't want them, I still think that if they're going to do them anyways, they have to make sure they have a place where delivery trucks can park. And then also access. How are they going to deal with keys to all the local businesses and anyone that needs access? That's all I have to say.
Would anybody like to make a motion for or against gated bollard systems?
I hereby make a motion that this committee recommend that the lockable gate system not be approved.
Is there a second for that
long as that's a period.
Okay. Any public comments on the motion? Nick?
What's disturbing about this process is that when we're at the meeting, people who made the presentation, these public safety recommendations, were 5 interns from USC, unpaid by the city government, and the director of Parks and Rec basically abdicated his responsibility at that meeting and told us how wonderful, how glowing these people were not even paid consultants, but interns, not even college graduates, making these kinds of recommendations. And the only public safety input you've had so far is this gentleman right here who works for the fire department. So keep that in mind when you vote.
When I made my comment, it was because I don't know what firemen need to get access to the boardwalk. The only reason for these, I would think, were for emergency, because they're large enough for fire trucks. If I'm hearing from a professional that they're not necessary for emergencies, then I'm against them. If they're necessary for emergency, we need to have them.
Okay.
Venice has the green light. The world come here, and all you set at this table, you feel safe in Venice. So, I mean, why are we wasting all this time on some safety committee making Venice more safe? We already know it's safe enough. We walk Venice day and night, all of us in here.
Yeah, I would just recommend the committee take motions that are short and sweet, saying we reject it, but we want them to talk about it more. Why don't you just take 2 motions? You can split the question. It makes it much easier. 10 people were against this. 2 people thought we should be talking about it further. So if you make it 1 motion, then everyone's either got to pick sides on the same side on both issues, or choose one over the other. So if you can keep the motions short and simple, against, for instance, the gentleman here had a great motion. We're against the proposal. That's short and sweet.
Thank you. I think we're ready to vote on Carl's motion. Carl, would you read the motion again, please?
I move we reject that we recommend that they do not use lockable gates on those locations.
I wrote it, the Oceanfront Walk Committee, Public Safety Committee, and Visitor Impact Committee recommended that the BNC board not support a lockable gate system.
Better.
Great, thank you. Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I'm not voting in favor.
All those opposed? All those abstain?
1.
Count is
9, 0, 1.
9 to 1 in favor of not supporting
9, 0, no one against one.
gate bollard.
9, 0.
Okay, moving on to number 3. Hard street closures. Hard street closures are for streets that are already mostly used for pedestrians and
Can I
therefore
just
which
say one
only...
thing? We didn't say anything about bollards. Does that matter?
Where?
In that last one, we just talked about lockable gates. We didn't say anything about fixed bollards. So are we making no recommendation on fixed bollards?
Well, let me just get to the rest of the sentence and here read what it says. Hard street closures are for streets that are mostly used for pedestrian use, therefore would only need to be slightly modified through the use of bollards, planters, artwork, and or bike racks to prevent an unauthorized vehicle access. Many of these streets already have bollards in place and would only require minimal work. Hard street closures are recommended for Ozone, Paloma, Thornton, Park, Clubhouse, Horizon, 19th, 20th, 23rd, and 30th, through 23rd through 30th. It is recommended the existing bollards be replaced with more attractive decorative bollards along with the intersection of each street and speedway. There are, however, exceptions where bollards will need to be placed along the edge of Oceanfront Walk. This is most notable at the private parking lot located at Sunset, immediately adjacent to Oceanfront Walk. This lot is used for both parking and for vendors who temporarily set up daily on private property to sell merchandise. Decorative fixed bollards paralleling Oceanfront Walk at this location would prevent unauthorized access to the boardwalk while retaining the ability of vendors to continue to operate here. Additionally, LAFD requested that staff assess the possibility of creating a fire lane on private parking lot on Sunset in order to ensure their vehicles have sufficient access to oceanfront walk. There are many scalable options that could impose costs for creating pedestrian plazas to simply adding a bollard or two on some street locations that already have existing bollards. If a fixed or decorative bollard is selected and used to both replace existing bollards and installed where none exist, the estimated cost at 18 street locations is approximately $400,000. If some of the existing bollards are left in place, there would be a significant reduction in this cost estimate. Furthermore, these costs do not include any structural changes to the pavement or beautification of the streetscape, such as pavers or other materials. That would require additional time and design to determine accurate estimates. Additionally, LAFD will develop the following based on the final treatment installed at each street with hard street closures. Updated internal LAFD maps of the area show bollards and gates, written standard operating guidelines on how to lay fire hose between Oceanfront Walk and Speedway where there is no access, and number 3, special notice informing all LFD companies of this issue. May I hear public comment on number 3, hard street closures? And this is a little bit broader topic, but keep your comments to hard street closures only, please.
I'd like to ask a question. I'd like to say, and still for that, during this time of this tragedy, where was the police? That's the question I want you all to think about. Where were the police? LAPD?
They were riding in their cars telling people
No, you can't.
to stop smoking
Dale,
cigarettes.
Dale, you can't.
I will respond by saying we are going to discuss LAPD later in the meeting. Yes.
Relative to the hard street closures, I think the hard street closures that exist are adequate where they are. You see LAPD uses these streets all the time too to access. It's, you know, not, in terms of the parking lot, I've seen them use it all the time. They can just swoop right through there and they're on the boardwalk. So it's, in fact, you know, I think it's counterproductive, and it just seems like this is a solution in one of a real problem.
Yes. Any other public comment regarding hard street closures only?
Well, it seems like where we already have bollards, I don't know why we're doing it. What streets don't we already have bollards on? I don't think, I mean, and, okay, for the ones that don't, whatever ones they are, it might be nice to do a planter or a bike rack or something like that. You know, something that doesn't obstruct the view and kind of gives you the clue, you know. So I'm not against the idea of doing this. I think that, you know, but I don't want to spend the money unless if there's bollards there now, please don't spend the money. You got other things. So it just depends.
Again, do we need this? Is this something that's going to happen over and over and over and over again that we need to protect against? Really?
Okay, so thank you. Last time we started at the far end. This time we'll start with Linda. Hard street closures.
Oh, yeah, I like the idea of the hard street closures using softer artwork. So I'm basically in favor of more looking into this particular motion, that recommendation from the city, because I think it has the most promise, it's the least expensive, but it could have more community input into the design and community improvement. So you know, there's not any one thing I like, but I like the idea of a motion to approve the concept of hard street closures, and I would like to see some community forums to have put on by the city to take recommendations, sort of a visioning process for what that might look like with the residents. Maybe I can make a motion. Okay, I'm going to make a motion. I move that we adopt the recommendation to look at hard street closures on the streets recommended and possibly other streets like Westminster, because that's not on here. That would include existing bollards and enhanced by other options to decorate, to enhance the beauty of the street and safety of the neighborhood. Is that a clear motion?
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Joseph seconds the motion.
Yeah, there's a second.
Discussion about the motion. Okay, so,
We didn't speak this time before the,
we started with Linda, and now I'm gonna go.
Okay.
And you're gonna go.
okay.
Now we have to have a discussion on motion, and then we can go back to discussing the actual
Oh, I see.
item.
Well, the discussion, the motion is to have further discussion about street closures, right? So, to discuss it.
Okay, oh, because we were gonna comment on the item prior to,
But you could do that. I just have a motion on the table.
You threw it out there,
Yeah.
and probably more to
so
the
we'll
motion.
come back to that motion after.
Yeah.
Okay, so hard street closures. So I am highly in favor of hard street closures. And the reason why is because as many people pointed out, there's already hard street closures. There's already posts, there's already signage. The only problem is they're butt ugly. That's not what I want to see on my boardwalk. That's not what I want to see when I walk down my street, which is Brooks Avenue, and I get to the end, and there's a bunch of things that say, signs that say, dead end, do not enter. Well, you know, that was as a result of this terrible tragedy that we had, and I had been honestly asking for signage for a long time that would tell people, this is not a throughway. I watch people, I live in Pacific and Brooks, and I watch people all day long turn down turn down Brooks Avenue, looking for parking, trying to they've come from all over the world, and they've come to Venice Beach, and now they see water, and they see sand, and they go, oh my God, that's amazing. The problem there is they're at Brooks, they're at a dead end, and they don't know what to do. They're in this zone between Speedway and the boardwalk, and they're stuck, and honey, now what? And then they're throwing in reverse, and now they're trying to back on the Speedway, and it's an absolute cluster F, you know what? And that is not the best way to move traffic through our beach traffic through our community. People who rent a car from LAX or come from East LA or the Eastern United States or around the world don't need to get stuck at the end of at the end of Brooks Avenue, at the end of Wavecrest, at the end of Westminster, and sit there and try to figure out how to get out of there. And then you've got delivery trucks trying to on top of them, you got bikes and you've got pedestrians, and that is absolutely no way to invite people to our beach, is with a bunch of steel posts at the end of the street going, sorry, you can't go any further. I think we can come up with a little more creative way to let people know that this is not through traffic. Sorry, this is the end of the line, this is the boardwalk. So it's going to take a lot. Venice is a highly, highly creative community, and we can come up with better ideas than steel poles with signs on them that say dead end. And I have a list, and I know this room has a list of creative ideas. But this is the opportunity to create ways and ideas with things to do with that last block between Speedway and the boardwalk, where the only real traffic that needs to be there is A, emergency vehicles, or B, delivery trucks. Not people who just want to pull up on their Harleys and go, hey, look at me, I'm hanging out on the boardwalk. So that's what I have to say about it, and I want to have a lot more discussion about it.